Hello and welcome to episode 93 of the She Must Knit podcast. My name is Erin and thank you so much for spending some of your time with me today. It's been a little while, guys. I think the last episode I posted, which was kind of like just an update episode, was about 3 weeks ago, and that is the longest I've taken between episodes since I started my little channel. I've been pretty consistent, but if you watch that episode, you will know that about in the middle of January, I became quite sick due to my asthma and pregnancy, which just makes my asthma worse, and I just needed some time. So first I want to thank everyone who made a comment and sent me well wishes, hoping for me to get better. And also I want to thank everybody who said, just take your time, take as much time as you need, rest up, and we'll see you whenever. And that's exactly what I decided to do. I tried not to put any pressure on myself. I did need to rest quite a bit. I think as of last week I was feeling pretty good, almost back to normal, but because of the previous 2 weeks where I was really just out, I was just done. I was resting a lot, sleeping a lot, breathing was difficult. I didn't knit, so even though I felt better last week, I had nothing to show you. So I decided to take just an extra week and to work on some of the projects that I had been wanting to work on. So here I am. I've got a lot to talk about today. I think this is going to be a pretty beefy little episode. So what do I have for you? We are going to start off with the monthly winner for January, and then I want to do a pattern release announcement. I have some finished objects to share with you. I have some work in progress projects to share with you. I have some upcoming projects that I want to talk about. I also want to do an update on my goals from January. So what were my goals? What did I complete? And what are my goals going into February? I have a shop update announcement, and then I thought I would also like to do another baby announcement. It's been a little while since I've done one. So for anybody who is interested, I think at the end I am going to do a little baby announcement. So before we get into it, I just want to say going forward, so as you know, the baby is due in April, and I am finding that how I feel day to day, just I cannot predict it. So I don't want to promise for the next little while that I'm going to be able to keep up with weekly episodes. I think what I'm going to do is just, usually for each episode, I give myself some mini goals for what kind of projects I want to work on and how much progress on those projects I want to have. So I'm going to give myself those little goals, and then when I reach them and I actually have something to show you guys, that's when I'll do an episode. So it's quite possible if I have a good week that it might be a week after my previous episode. But if I don't have a good week, it might be a little longer. It might be more like 10 days to 2 weeks. So we're just going to have to play it by ear. Going forward, I don't want to promise that every week on a certain day I will have a new episode up, because at this point I just don't know how I'm going to feel when I wake up each morning. So let's get into the knitting part. We are going to start with the monthly winner. So if you are a new viewer, every month I like to take the comments made on any of my videos during that given month. Each comment counts as an entry, and then also any items purchased on my website, each item counts as an entry. So I draw from all those entries, and the winner gets a $20 coupon to use in my shop. It is my way of thanking you for supporting my channel, supporting my shop, and just engaging. So the winner for January is Sylvia1002. Sylvia, you have been with me for years. You have been following me and supporting me for a long time, and one of your comments got picked this month. So congratulations. I know you know how to contact me. Let me know that you see this, and I will get your coupon set up. The second thing I want to do is a little pattern release announcement. So if you remember, several months ago I was working on a test knit for Stephanie Lotvin. The pattern is called Linger Here. It is a beautiful kind of oversized sweater with a really nice cable design. Weeks ago I was in contact with Stephanie just with some of the issues I was having personally, and that I did not think I was going to complete the test. She was very understanding. I felt horrible, but I'm still aiming to finish that sweater this year because it's absolutely beautiful. I love the yarn that I chose for it. But because I'm such a horrible tester and I didn't finish on time, I want to gift 2 of the patterns to 2 of my viewers, just to show her a little bit of support for this release. So if you are interested in receiving a copy of the Linger Here pattern, just comment below saying that you're interested in that pattern, and I will pull from those comments, and the next time I do an episode, I will pick some winners and I will gift that pattern through Ravelry. So next we're going to go into finished objects. So first we're going to start with my DVD socks because that is just what I like to do, and I finished my January socks. So it was a little bit down to the wire, but not as bad as, I think my worst month was last November when it was almost midnight when I finished those socks. These weren't as bad, but it was still on the last day. Remember, there was at least a week or so where I really wasn't knitting, so the last week leading up to the last day, I was really trying to make a dent in these socks. So it was my first sock, and where you can see this marker, the last episode when I showed these to you, that's where I was on my first sock. So I had to finish all of this on the first sock plus my second sock by the end of the month. But I did, and I really love them. So this color is Badlands. These are knit for myself. I have not worn them yet. I didn't want to show you, baggy socks full of cat hair that have been stretched out because of my feet, which are just puffy and uncomfortable, but we'll get into that with the baby update. But yeah, so these are for me. So I did exactly what I like to do with my socks when they're for me, is I start with 81 stitches. I do a 2x1. I'm kind of trying some different things in terms of fit. I really like a loose, comfortable leg, but that I prefer a fitted foot. So I started off with 81 stitches. When I'm finished the ribbing, I get rid of that extra stitch so that I have 40 stitches on each needle. I like to make my socks using a magic loop. And then I knit down the leg until the heel increases start. So I don't know if you can tell. I can kind of see along this tan stripe here. You can see right there and there and there. There's some little decreases. So right before I started the heel increases, I brought my stitch count down to 35 stitches on each needle, so 70 stitches total, because for the foot I like to have 70 stitches. Previously what I would do is I would just do the heel with the larger stitch count and then decrease more once I got to the foot, but I found a lot of the socks were just a little baggy in that ankle area. When I wear them, they get a little baggy in that area. So I thought what I'd do is try and decrease down to the foot size that I like before I get to the heel. That way, once the heel is done, I'm already at that stitch count and I don't have to decrease any further. So I think I've done that with one pair and it did seem to help, but I did it with this pair again. So the heel that I like to use is just kind of a triangular shaped heel that I kind of have modified from the jangle sock pattern that I used last year. Basically, you start doing increases, and then once in this triangular wedge, you have the same amount of stitches that you did across. So basically, you've doubled your stitches on one needle. You start working back and forth to decrease the stitches, and then you continue on. So I like how this heel fits. I find it to be a very forgiving heel. I find it's a heel now that I don't have to look at any pattern. I don't do it quite like the original pattern. I've kind of changed it to my own, needs. But this is the heel that I like to do now. And lately, I've been doing it so that the heel portion is in reverse stockinette. And I just find it easy to know when I'm in the heel section and what I need to do versus if it was all stockinette. So that's what I did. I also did the thing where after the first sock, I rewound the cake so that the stripes are going in the opposite direction. So you can see that I kind of made them both start with the pink, but when you look at the stripes, they're going in the opposite way. And it's something I really like to do because I don't have to worry about the stripes matching. It's just, they still obviously look like a pair, but I don't have to worry if I'm just a little bit off on the stripe or what. Each sock is kind of its own little thing. I also did a little bit of yarn management when I joined back from, so after I did all the heel work and I joined back into the round, I did make sure that the stripes continued on in the same sequence, so I did do a little bit of yarn management in that area as well. But overall, I am super happy with these, and I will be able to wear them. Hopefully I will be able to wear them. They will fit. Hand knit socks are very forgiving with their sizing, but yeah, I'm probably going to stretch them out, but that's okay. Quick trip in the dryer and they'll be fine. So that is my first finished object that I'm going to share with you. And my second one is also using some Desert Vista Dyeworks yarn. So the last time I showed this to you, I don't think I had very much done on it at all. It actually sat for quite a long time without me touching it. And then I picked it back up this past weekend and I was able to whip through the rest of it. So if you'll remember, I don't know if it was the last episode or I don't know which episode it was, but I was talking about how I was planning on making some baby sets. So I wanted to make a little boy baby set and a little girl baby set, and each set would have a newborn hat, a chenille octopus, and then a little snuggle sack. And that was a way of using some of the chenille yarn that I had bought for the sweater that I was going to knit for Avery for Christmas, and decided that I didn't want to do that anymore. So I decided to start with the hats, and I started with the boy hat, and I am finished boy hat. So here we go. The boy hat is done, and again, this is Desert Vista Dyeworks yarn. This is some of the leftovers that I had from my December socks. This is the Stranger Things colorway, and I just thought this colorway was going to really complement the chenille yarns that I had. So I have some black chenille that I'm going to use for the snuggle sack, and I have some teal chenille that I'm going to use for the octopus. So I thought altogether it would just make a really cute little hat. So I believe this pattern is the Easy Peasy baby sock hat, and the only modification that I made is that I did a little bit of ribbing for the brim. I believe the original pattern just had a rolled brim, but I wanted it to have a little bit of ribbing. So I did my usual 2x1 ribbing. That's just the ribbing that I like before going into the rest of the pattern, which I followed exactly. So I followed the cast on number exactly, I followed the amount of inches that you knit exactly, the decreases, and I did the little top knot at the top, which I think is really cute. So the little baby boy hat is done, and then one of my new cast-ons that I will show you in a minute will kind of continue on with those sets. But before I get there, I have one more thing to show you. So this isn't a completely finished object, but the section that I was working on is finished, and I am talking about my Cozy Memories blanket. So I've been working on this. I think I had 1 or 2 more squares that needed to be done for the section to be complete, and I have done that. I have edged off the section, and I've added the little tag. So for my Cozy Memories blanket, I am working on this as a gift for Avery when she's older and she leaves the house. So I am just adding to it every year however many squares I can, and then after the year is done, I'm edging that off so that you can see the progression. So the section that I was working on for 2019 is basically these 2 rows here, and you can kind of see how there is a border in black. There is the little tag that I added, and I just do these with polymer clay, and then I have some stamping, some metal stamping things that you can use to imprint either metal pieces, or I use it for both metal pieces and clay. But I just use that to imprint the year, and then I did kind of a wash over top with some black nail polish just to bring those numbers out. So these 2 rows are all the squares that I was able to add in this year. And we are approaching the end, so that was December, and then these were the ones that I had to kind of add to get to the end of the row. So this was my last square. So I got that square in, and then I did a crochet border in black to kind of edge out that section. I just did 2 rows of single crochet into the knit stitches. And so I am all set to start my 2020 section. And I think for that one, I'll put in a picture here. I took a picture of it on the floor, and of course you can see Mr. T, as soon as something knitwear goes on the floor, he is like beelines for it. So you can use him for scale to see how big the blanket is. It is growing, but I think what I'm going to do is start working off one of the edge opposite to the one that I just was working on, and I'm not going to go across the full edge. I'm going to maybe do 6 squares across and then start working up, because I want it to be manageable, where I don't have to like really stretch myself to do a row. Like I found it was with this, because it went across the whole blanket, I had to find yarn by the end to kind of fill in those squares. And so I think if I stick to about 6 squares across and then just work up, I think that will be very doable for this year. I don't know how much I'm going to be adding to it, but it will just, I think it will add a nice little block, and then the next year I can kind of work across and fill in the other kind of missing piece. So that is how my blanket is going, and that is the last of the kind of finished object section. So we are going to move into works in progress, and of course I am going to start with my February Desert Vista Dyeworks socks. So I cast these on pretty early in the month. I think my January socks, I started quite late, so that's probably part of the reason why I finished so late as well, but also I wasn't knitting a lot in January. But for February, I decided to cast on with this colorway, and this is the Lions and Tigers and Bears colorway. This is one of the last ones. I think this was the last order that I placed in 2019 from Susan's website, and it arrived, and I decided this is going to be my February color, because I picked this one out specifically for a pair of brother socks, and this way I know that I will have most of my brother socks done and put aside by the end of this month. So the December socks that I did with the Stranger Things colorway, that was for one of my brothers. This is going to be for another brother, and then I just have one more brother that I have to knit socks for, and I can do that at some point over the course of the year. So I'm pretty happy with where I am at this point. I've got this much done. I've got the cuff done. I've got the leg done, and I am just starting to do the increases for the heel. So I'm doing this heel the same way that I did the January ones, where it's going to be in the reverse stockinette, and you can kind of see what I mean, where by doing it with the purl stitches, it's just very easy when I'm working across this row to see when I reach this section and when I need to do some increases in the purl. So I just on the first and the last stitch in this section, I just do a purl through purl increase. It's like when you knit twice into one stitch, I'm just purling twice into one stitch, and I do that on either side for the increases. So once I finish this heel, I can get into the foot, and hopefully, because this is a shorter month, I will not have, I really want to kind of stick to these and make sure I'm working on them regularly, so that they are definitely finished by the end of the month, because I will have 3 less days compared to what I had in January. So I am very much enjoying that. I was at my mom's over the weekend, and my brother was there, and he said that he liked that colorway. I also asked him if he had a preference for short or long socks, and he did not. I think I had intended to make these shorter socks just to save me a little bit of time. I never can tell. That's the one thing with doing this heel, is it adds more to the length than you think it's going to add. Like when I do a German short row heel, I can see the size of the leg, and then you pop in the heel, and then you do the foot. So these might end up being longer than I anticipated, but something that I've really been enjoying lately is when I do the cuff. So I'll cast on, and again I did, for when I'm doing socks for either my brothers or my husband, I do 72 stitches. So I cast on the 72 stitches, and I've been doing it so that the cuff is like one color repeat. So you can see I started with this kind of light tan, and then I ended the ribbing with the light tan again. And then I went into this kind of like light gold color, and I did one repeat of that for the legs. So I started with the light gold, and then I ended here with the light gold, and that's where I started the heel increases. So these might be a little bit taller of a sock than I thought, but it's just, I like the visual of that. It adds a little something fun for me to watch when I am working on my striping socks. So that is my first work in progress, and my next work in progress is using another Desert Vista Dyeworks yarn. This episode is full of Desert Vista Dyeworks. So I showed you the little baby boy hat, and I've cast on the little baby girl hat. And I showed this a number of episodes ago. There was one episode when I was talking about some of the project planning that I was doing, and this was one of the plans. So this was the color that I used in November, and I just thought that this would be really, really pretty for a little baby girl, and also it would complement the pink chenille yarn that I have for the octopus and snuggle sack. So once I finished the baby boy hat the other day, I cast this one on. I'm using the same pattern, the Easy Peasy baby sock yarn hat, and this is what I have so far. So again, I am doing a ribbed brim before I get into the stockinette. I just think it will help fit a little better, and then also if I make it a little too deep, I can kind of roll up the brim maybe a little bit, but that's as far as I've gotten. I have started just a few rows into the stockinette, but that's where this is. This should be a pretty fast project as well, as long as I have time to work on it. I had debated, so once I finished the baby boy hat, I was kind of debating on if I wanted to work on like the whole baby boy set before I went and moved on to the whole baby girl set, but I decided to work on them pattern by pattern. So I'm going to do the hat first for both sets, and then I'll probably do the octopus next for both sets, and then finally the snuggle sack, just because if it just happens that, like I said, every day is different for me right now. If it gets to where the baby comes and I haven't finished all the pieces, I at least have some pieces for each set. So I will at least have like a hat for either the girl or boy, and maybe, ideally I would like at least the hat and the octopus for both the boy and girl. The snuggle sack is more to use some of the yarn, and I think it would be really cute, but if I don't get around to that, not a big deal. So we are working on the hats first, and then we will move on to the octopi next. So that is what I have for the projects that I have been working on, and before we move on to my monthly goals and shop updates and stuff like that, I just wanted to talk about some projects that I anticipate casting on very, very soon. And this kind of has to do, one of them has to do with my my goals for February, and you will see that in a moment. But there's two projects that by the next time I do an episode will probably be started, because I'm kind of itching to at least start one of them. So the first one is kind of a random project. I don't even think it fits anything on my bingo card. However, it's just something I really, really want to do, and it's going to be a really, really quick project, so it'll be very satisfying to finish, especially since I felt like all of January I just felt like so, I don't know, defeated. Like I felt like I was getting nothing done, both in knitting and in life. Like just nothing was happening. So I think a project like this will just be very motivating, because I think it's going to be a really, really quick finish. And I'm going to be using another ball of the Bernat blanket yarn. I picked up a bunch of this in the fall to make Avery a blanket for Christmas. So if you remember, I made Avery a blanket with this yarn, not that color, different colors, pinks and purples and oranges and stuff like that. And I did finish it in time for Christmas, and she loves it, and Mr. T loves that blanket. We keep it on the floor because Avery likes to lie down on it when she watches TV or if she's playing. She uses it to play with Mr. T, like putting things under the blanket, moving them so he can pounce on them. But just otherwise, he loves that blanket. If I come downstairs in the middle of the day, chances are I'm going to find him sleeping on that blanket. He's just on that thing all the time, passed out all kinds of crazy cute positions. He loves sleeping on that blanket. But it's rather large. I made it for Avery, who's 8. So what I thought I would do is go back to Michael's and pick out one ball of kind of a neutral color. I did kind of have like a tan in mind, but I saw this one and I thought this would be really pretty. He is a tabby cat, and so I figured I wanted something where his hair, like when it got all over it, wouldn't be incredibly obvious, and I think this will work really well. So I just wanted to pick up one ball, and I'm just going to crochet like a little mat for him. So however big that one ball goes, that's how big the blanket was going to be, and that way I can put it on. He has a little spot on a bench that's near our living room window that he does like to sleep on quite a bit. I can put it there. I can bring it with me when I do a recording, because sometimes, as you know, he'll come up on the table and he'll just want to sit on everything and get in my way and stuff. I can bring it with me and maybe put it on the corner, and that might encourage him to just sit on his blanket. I can also bring it and put it on my desk if I'm trying to get work done, because there's many days where I'm trying to get admin work done or work on my website or something like that, and he wants to be near you, and he'll walk on the computer and sit on the keyboard and do all those things that cats do, just to be around you. And I thought maybe if I have this little cat mat, I can put it on my desk, and that will encourage him just to stay put and stay there. So this is just something that I want to do that I think will be a really quick project. But like I said, it doesn't work towards my bingo card or my yearly goals or anything. It's just a cute little project that I kind of want to do. The next project that I really want to start this month is the baby vertebrae sweater. This is on my bingo card for this year. It is its own little square, and it's something that I really, really want to have done before the baby gets here, so that I have a newborn sweater that the baby will fit into, all set to go. And I believe I also showed this in the episode that I talked about upcoming projects and things I wanted to be working on. And this is a skein of yarn from Unwind Yarn Company. And this is a color that I won in her, she did kind of like a year-long and long as well in Ravelry, and I participated all year and I won this skein. I think I was able to pick a skein from her website, and I picked this just because I thought this would be a really, really pretty gender neutral colorway that would work really well for a baby vertebrae. So I plan on casting this one on really, really soon as well. Hopefully the next time I'm able to record, that will be started, and hopefully it won't take too long to complete, because I'd really like to just have that done, have it put aside, have it ready, and yeah. So those are my 2 upcoming projects that I plan on starting very soon. I think next we are going to go into my goals update. So what my goals were for January and what my goals are for February and what I completed and whatnot. And I can tell you right now that January was pretty much a bust. I actually did finish more goals than I thought I was going to, but I didn't get, I had 2 finished objects for January. It was just my January Desert Vista Dyeworks socks, and then that ribbed beanie that I finished for Dennis's friend. So my goals for January were to finish my January Desert Vista Dyeworks socks, which I did. I wanted to finish 1 other pair of socks. I have 2 pairs on the needles that carried over from last year. I wanted to finish 1 of those. That didn't happen. I wanted to start the baby vertebrae sweater. That didn't happen. I wanted to continue working on my granny stripe blanket and putting in all the minis that I received in my advent swaps. That didn't happen. And I wanted to catch up on my Cozy Memories blanket, so finish the section for 2019. That did happen. I did that. So basically I finished 2 of the goals that I had given myself. So going into February, I tried to keep it pretty minimal. February Desert Vista Dyeworks socks I want to finish. That has to happen. Other than that, I just want to finish the baby girl hat for the sets, and then start the baby vertebrae. That's all I've given myself for February. Hopefully that will be achievable. So those are my goals for the month. The next thing we're going to talk about is the shop update. I wanted to update you on the club listings. So I've talked in previous episodes how I was planning on doing another mystery club for this year. I was changing it up just a little bit, and I was trying to work on the theme. The theme was mythical creatures, and I was trying to narrow down the creatures I wanted to use and find images and get kind of all that information set up. I was able to do that this week, so all the listings are up in my site. So I just wanted to briefly talk about that, and then we will go into the baby update before I say goodbye. So for the club, instead of doing a shipment every month, I will be doing them every 2 months. That's just to give myself a little bit more time. I don't want to give myself more than I can handle, and I just don't know. I don't know with a newborn what's going to happen. So I just thought I would do it every 2 months. That will give me a little bit more time, and it will also be easier on your budget if you are someone who likes to do all the months. I have several customers who like to get all the months, and so there will only be 6 shipments instead of 12. So originally I was going to start the shipments in February, but because January was just so basically a write-off, I've decided to start the shipments in March. So March will be the first shipment, which actually works out really, really well for me because I can get the first shipment out before baby comes, and then the next shipment won't be until May, and that will be after baby comes. So for April, I don't have to worry about trying to take care of a newborn and getting shipments out into the post office, etc. So the first shipment is going to be in March, and then after that it will be every 2 months, and it will go into January of 2021. I was debating on making it just a 5 shipment club, but I wanted to stick with 6, so it will go, the last shipment will be January of 2021. As with my previous clubs, each theme, so each creature will be available individually, so you can pick and choose. There might be only 1 month that you really, really like the creature or really, really like the color inspiration, and then you can just get that one, but you can get more than one. And then I will also have some 3-month bundles, so the first 3 months will be a bundle, and then the last 3 months will be a bundle, and the bundles just save you a little bit in the overall shipping. So let's talk about the creatures. For ease of just putting in images, I'm going to put in the images that I have of the 3-month bundle pictures together, but just know that each of those are also available as an individual month. So the first 3 months are going to be, March is going to be the Sphinx, May is going to be gnomes, July is going to be mermaids, so those are all available individually as well as one bundle. And then the second bundle for September, it's going to be werewolf, November is griffin, and January is dragon. And again, those are available both individually and as a 3-month bundle. If you are new to how my clubs work, you can personalize them. There are drop-down options in each listing where you can pick what kind of yarn you want. You can pick from 100-gram sock weight skein, you can pick sock sets, you can pick a sock blank, you can add accent skeins if you want a semi-solid accent to go with it. You can pick whether you want to add stitch markers, progress keepers. There are some months that I know I can find fabrics to go with the creatures. Those months will have the option of adding a bag if you want, but it's all very personalized. So if you're interested, you can go to blingyourstring.com, check out the listings and see what's there. And yeah, if you're interested, there you go. That is all the information on that, I think. If you have any other questions, just let me know, and of course I will answer them. So finally, I think I am just going to give you guys a little baby update if you are interested. If you are not, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next episode, but I know many of you have enjoyed following along with this process. So I am currently 30 weeks. We are kind of in that home stretch. I mean, there's still a lot of weeks to go, but I'm in the 3rd trimester. The end is in sight. I'm both glad to see that end come, but also not. It's like it's too soon, but then it's not soon, you know what I mean? But I've officially entered into the stage where you are just uncomfortable all the time. I'm trying to explain this to Dennis because I'm like, you will never understand. You will never experience anything where you can understand how this feels, because I'm like, I feel like everything is expanding this way. There's no comfortable way I can sit right now where I don't feel like things are just being compressed. The asthma part doesn't help either. And then at the same time, I feel like I've constantly gone to a buffet dinner and just eaten a little bit too much, and it's just, I'm expanding out this way, and it's also very uncomfortable. So, and then the feet thing I mentioned earlier, my feet have started to swell up. I need to get Avery. Avery helps me every morning and at night getting my socks on and off, because it's an ordeal. But other than that, we've been joined by Mr. T. I don't know if you're going to see him, but this is why I need a cat mat. I could put it in the corner there, and he would just sit on his cat mat and be a good little boy instead of being the troublesome cat that he is. So day to day, I just don't know how I'm going to feel. Some days are more uncomfortable than others. But in terms of how baby's doing very, very well. Any tests that I've had have come back just fine. Baby is very, very active, so that is good. I think in the last episode I mentioned how I had gone for my first glucose test, and because my results were slightly elevated, my OB wanted me to go for the second glucose test, which is a little bit, more of an ordeal. You have to fast, and you have to go for 2 hours and get 3 blood draws. I did that last week, and I got the results yesterday when I had my OB appointment. All 3 readings came back normal, so that was such a relief. That was stressed me out. I am so glad that is just fine. I have had to go for multiple ultrasounds. I have another one coming up. Every time I have my OB appointment and she measures my belly, it's a little bit bigger than it should be for my number of weeks, and so I have to go to an ultrasound to make sure baby is growing on schedule. Usually it's just, I had the same thing with Avery, so it's kind of just like, okay, fine, I go to the ultrasound, whatever, I'm not worried. I tend to have a lot of fluid. I had a lot of fluid with Avery. Every time I had an appointment, the doctor was like, oh my goodness, you have so much fluid. I'm like, yeah, which is also probably why I'm so uncomfortable. I don't know. But I do have another ultrasound next week for that. But it's nice. I get to see the pictures. I get to see the ultrasound, and that's just, ultrasounds are not difficult to do, so I don't mind doing those. But yeah, everything seems to be progressing just fine. So we still have a little bit of time left to get things ready. We have not started the room at all. I really want to get going on that this month. My aunt has very generously offered to paint the room for me. She enjoys painting. All I have to do is clear the room out before she can do that, and then move the bed that we have in there into the center. However, it is our kind of guest room, spare room, and I'm pretty sure most of us have the room where things kind of go to die, when you need to move it from somewhere else in your house and just kind of get it out of your way. There's a certain room that you put it in, and where you can just close the door and not think about it. That is that room for us. So there's a whole lot of stuff that I have to get out of the room before she can start the process of painting it. And it's just a very overwhelming thought. I think I'm going to have to get Avery to help me with some of the stuff, because it's just a lot of little things that just need to be carried and moved, and my plan is just to move them all into our bedroom for, temporarily, get the room set up the way I want, and then we'll deal with whatever's left. But I really want to get that done in February. I don't want to leave that to the last minute. But other than that, I think that's it. I no longer have to eat like a hobbit. My eating has gone back to normal, where I can just kind of eat when I want. I don't feel like I constantly have to eat or else I feel sick. So that's been lovely. However, I still have no desire to, I don't want to eat. It's just, you do because you have to. And also I have no desire to cook still. So dinners have still been a little bit of a struggle. But so far, so good. 30 weeks, and we are just going to keep plugging along. And yeah, I think that is all I have to share with you on that for now. So that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have an excellent week or longer, depending on how long it is before I record next. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will talk to you soon.